Oh boy, this is no joke. Welcome back, everybody, to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, episode 96, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. Christian Brindle, Glenn Shelton, and we got a lot of really important topics to jump on today, but some news that came out literally this morning. Article from Forbes drops about CVS looking to pull out of the ACA market, affecting 1 million beneficiaries. Yeah, that's a big bombshell. For those of you that aren't aware, CVS owns Aetna, so we're talking about Aetna. Yeah, that's quite the news.
That is a big one.
We're going to be talking about that. We got several topics to kind of get into today. Had to pull a little bit of an audible topic-wise. How is your audio, sir? Are you all right with your audio?
I'm headphone-less today. Is you getting any reverb? Is this okay on your end?
No, you're okay. You're okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it just, are you having a hard time seeing me without headphones on? Is it my ears? Is that freaking you out?
It's a little traumatic, but I think we'll make it through episode 90.
I have ears. Okay.
Nobody wants to see those things.
I'll just go like this, okay? We'll pretend I have headphones on. My normal headset's dead. My backup headset's not working, so I'm raw dogging it with computer audio today.
Lord. I guess I said something way worse this week that I won't repeat.
I'm trying to keep up with you, okay? I'm trying to stay on your level. It's hard. It's hard to stay on your level, okay?
I don't know if trying to trump me is the best idea for future sponsorships and things like that of this show.
Definitely not. I want to mention really fast, you guys. So we've had a few comments on previous streams and in the group about Freebie Friday giveaways.
Yeah.
If we gave something away and you haven't received it yet, for whatever reason, please reach out. Please comment. We want you to get what we gave away to you. Whether it's a free summit ticket or free leads, what typically happens is one of our assistants is trying to DM you through Facebook and you're probably just not seeing it. That's usually what's happening. But what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that, right? Sometimes when we give things away, like let's say, for example, a summit ticket, it's something that a lot of people that get them for free are going to want to go, but not everybody's going to want to go. And so we don't really know who's going to be able to make the trip or accept that ticket. And so, the best thing you can do is make contact with us. If you know one of our staff members inside of, the group, you can reach out to them, for leads, you can reach out to Lester, you can reach out to Randy, but you can also reach out, I think you can also reach out to myself, to Glenn, everything like that.
You're really hesitant to throw yourself out there.
Well, I know how
you guess DM me, okay? I guess, you really want to DM me. Shoot me.
No, I love it when you guys DM me. I love it.
Does.
So keep doing it. So before we jump into this article about Forbes, right? I'm already seeing comments being like, this isn't true. Argue with Forbes. We'll go through it in a second here. But before we do so, I wanted to kind of start off with an introduction topic. So yesterday in the Facebook group, we were having kind of an internal discussion that got a little interesting about, do high producing agents do extremely well on their licensing exam, or do they struggle, right? And so I was like, let's test this out a little bit. Here's the thing. We don't know all of you and your production or anything like that, so it's a little tough to see, but I was kind of interested to just see the different layers of responses, and thank you guys for responding to that. So we were just having this little bit of an internal discussion about it. It was kind of funny and kind of fascinating. So if I remember correctly, tell me if I got this right, Glenn, you just barely squeaked through on your second try, third try, something like that. Is that right?
So I only took the test one time, but at one point my license lapsed And so I actually had to take the test again.
Yes.
Now, I did pass on both tries the first attempt. However, neither score was above, I think maybe I just saw one floating around in my office and it was a 79. And I think the other one was low 80s. So it was not some of you, I'm sure 97, 98, like that's insane. I don't know how you guys did that. Hats off to you.
Yeah.
But going through, do you feel like going through and there's a lot of comments on that post. Do you feel like your theory was proved correctly when you
I
were
don't
going
know, because I don't know the size of everyone's business or everyone's productivity. So it's really difficult to see. I was just more kind of interested to see the varying responses that we got from that, right? And like people's thoughts on it. And, it was a little bit of a polarizing topic for sure, because I saw some comments about like, well, who cares? What does it matter as long as you're licensed? Which, yes, that is absolutely true. It was more for just, kicks and giggles and internal research on our part, just kind of wondering kind of what kind of responses we would get. Not saying, so let me start off by giving another little bit of context as well. So for me, when I started studying for my test, I was 20 and I was fresh dropping out of college, finished high school a few years before. I hated studying. I hated test taking. And it felt so much like school. Like back then, there wasn't like any online training programs. I had like a physical book. And I was going to like a class a couple times here and there. And it was like an all day class. You started at like 8 a.m. and you're finishing at like 4 p.m. It was like hell to me. It was everything that I despise in life. And so, what I would do is I would schedule my exam maybe 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out. And then I'm like, all right, going to hit the books. And then I wouldn't for like 2-3 weeks. And then like a week before, I'd be like, better hit the books. And I'd start going through the book, and I'm like, this is miserable, And so admittedly, I wasn't studying very hard. I'll be honest with that. Like, it's hard. I had a really hard time just making myself sit there and do it, especially at that point in my life, that age. So I failed it a bunch of times. Like I failed it like 4 times. And then the 5th time I passed it, just squeaked by. I think I got like a 72 on the 5th try. So, and now I say that to say, I've seen plenty of other people. Now, remember, by the time I finally passed it, I was just barely 21. I had seen plenty of other people in my life that just zoomed through that test. My older brother is a good example of this. My older brother's not with us anymore, but he was a brainiac, like excelled in school, everything like that. Not great with people. And he got like a 95 his first try, and he lasted 3 months in the business. I've seen other people get 97% and things like that. And I knew one guy in particular got a 97, wrote one app in 7 months, and someone else sold it for him. He made the appointment and someone else showed up and sold it for him. So like I started wondering, I'm like, I wonder if there's a trend here, right? Because obviously when I came into the business, I had no problem selling. I became a great salesperson. And so I started wondering, I'm like, well, I sucked at this test part of it. I learned how to do testing more over the years, having to do yearly certifications and AHIP. Now they're not a problem for me, but back then they really were. And I've seen that trend with certain other people too. Like I've known a lot of really good producers that just grazed by, a little bit on their license exam. So a little bit of curiosity there. I think it's a case by case basis. I don't think like if you scored high, it means you're going to suck as an agent. I don't think that. And I don't think there's anything bad about scoring high. That means you're intelligent and you're a good studier and all of those other things.
The point though, and the main reason this came up, we're hiring right now at ESI.
Yes.
So,
hey,
if you're in Sandy, Utah, or within driving distance of Sandy, Utah, and you want to work with us, by all means, reach out. We'd love to have you.
Apply.
But the reason this topic came up is because we were hiring some LOA positions in the agency. And then the takeaway here is that being a great agent is more about personality and less about intelligence. You know, are you a very sociable person? Can you connect with strangers? You know,
what are you saying about my intelligence?
Christian is very sociable. Okay, that's what we know. Okay, we're gonna compliment Christian here.
I also think, like, you know, I think if I had to do that today at 30 again, I think I would have no trouble at all, because I'm an adult now. I'm a mature adult. Like, I can study for things if I have to, right? Like, you know, now I'm such a different grown up person in some ways, not in others. But like, you know, I'll sit down and I'll go through Final Rule and I'll pick it apart, you know, like I couldn't do that when I was 20, you know? So I don't think, I think it's like, I've always thought it was a weird thing. I think school kind of falls into this thing as well. Like, school measures quote unquote intelligence, but some people just, you know, their personalities don't fit the way that school measures intelligence, right? Like, how good are you? Joe Rogan talks about this all the time. How good are you at memorizing random irrelevant facts and then reciting them? That's basically what school measures. And that doesn't really measure intelligence. It measures your memorization and reciting skills.
Yeah, especially like the financial literacy part of school. I mean, that's something, hindsight being 2020 for me, that is so bothersome, is that they don't teach really any type of financial literacy. I'd say the only time I really got any type of financial literacy education was early on in probably my early college years. So like maybe the first time, I only went to college for 3 years and then I dropped out. I'd say maybe my first year of college, there was a class I took that kind of was like an intro to finances, talking about like how mortgages work, right? Like stuff like that, stuff that in my opinion should be taught early on in high school, maybe even junior high. Like, why would we not teach some of the more important subjects? And I kind of fall into that same category of like, I just didn't want to sit in school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know, I consider myself a relatively intelligent person. If you look at my GPA in high school, though, it's not going to reflect that. I'll tell you right now.
Same.
My
Wait.
So, GPA was atrocious.
Tell me yours, and I'll tell you mine. I'm curious where we stand.
I think we talked about this before, and I know I actually have my transcript somewhere, but I want to say I know it was below 3.0. I think it was like 2.7.
So yours was better than mine. Mine was like 2.0, 2.1. Like, let me put it.
That's got to be a D average.
Yeah.
I'm like a 2.1. That's got to be a D. At 2.7, I'm like a low C average probably.
I can remember one, maybe two times putting a great effort in studying for a quiz or an exam. But most of the time, if I had homework, I was doing it 10 minutes before class, sitting in the hall, rushing through it, or cheating off of one of my friends' homework exams. I remember, I think I told this story before, I was failing Spanish miserably. I still only know 3 or 4 words. One of my friends, you know, was able to basically break into the teacher's computer and change everyone's grades. And he got caught. Everyone's grades got changed back except for mine. So I ended for some reason, they didn't put 2 and 2 together on mine. I was the only one that didn't get in trouble. And thankfully, no one ratted me out. I ended the year with an A+ in Spanish. And I don't know a word of Spanish.
Mi amo Christian.
Yeah. There's that scene in a Dodgeball where he comes in his hotel room and he's like waiting for him in the dark. He's waiting for Vince Vaughn in the dark, and he's like, "Donde está la biblioteca?" Which is like, "Where's the library?" He's like, "What?" But no, I think like I describe myself as like, I think I'm more successful because I'm a hard worker than I am because I'm smart. But I think I'm I'm above average in terms of intelligence, but I don't think I'm like extremely intelligent. I think I'm a really hard worker, and I'm resourceful, and I think I am pretty smart, but I don't think I'm super smart or anything like that. You know what I mean? So like, it's just interesting kind of dissecting, I guess, the personality type, right? Because like there are a lot of really smart people that can blow through all these tests, no problem. They can do it in their sleep, and they just can't sell. They can't be agents. They can't do this business. They're awkward, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of a book smart versus street smart, but at the end of the day, regardless of how smart or dumb you are, the beauty of this industry is hard work will trump your intelligence, in my opinion, every single time. You could be really intelligent, you could be an incredible salesperson. If you're not putting in the time, it doesn't matter. It won't matter at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year. The person who's working harder, or maybe they have a better system, right? Again, you can figure out a sales system without having an Einstein level IQ, knowing that these leads, this marketing, if I work this many hours, if I talk to this many seniors, I'll write approximately this many apps, and then just rinse and repeating that system.
Totally.
You can see it's honestly, if you really think about it, if you think about some of the ultra successful people in our space, there's a couple that come to mind right away for me. It's kind of bonkers when you look at some of these people who've really made it to the 1%, the tippy top. It's not the type of person on paper that you would say, right? Yeah, exactly. I wasn't
Say it without saying it. Say it without saying it.
I wasn't lumping you into that specifically. But yes, you would be. Yeah, again, I just think that goes to speak, though, the opportunity that exists in our industry is that the person on paper who has every ability to succeed, it seems like 9 out of 10 times is not the person at the top, right? 9 out of 10 times it's the opposite almost.
I heard this years ago, and I don't remember where I heard it, but I think it's so applicable here. I think people that, like, we've all known people throughout our lives. I'm sure you went to school with some, I went to school with some, just naturally gifted, it seemed like, in every area, right?
Sure.
Like they were good in sports. They blew through school. Everything seemed effortless for them. They had lots of friends, all these things, right? And you're looking at them, you're in high school, you're like, how do they do what they do? You know what I mean? Like, they're just like amazing. I heard at a point, the more gifted you are, the less you have to work to develop character and develop things as you grow up. And the less likely you are to succeed because you haven't had to work as hard for things as other people. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't develop the same kind of grit or tenacity. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
So I think that's really applicable here because, I think that there's people that are genius level IQs and they grow lazy. Then there's people that are genius level IQs and they are extremely hard workers and they're Elon Musks. But how many Elon Musks are there out there, right? But there's probably other people with his same level of IQ that, like, they're just regular old people,
100%.
And I think about myself, right? Like, I think so if I compare myself now to the person I was when I was a kid, basically 20 years old, studying for my exam, failing at it, not studying, all that stuff, doing the same thing I did in school, be like, it'll be fine, let's fill in the dots. At that point in time, I had not worked hard to develop myself. I hadn't read. I mean, I'd started reading books and stuff like that, but, like, I hadn't really worked hard to overcome any of my limitations, whereas the last 11 years or so I have. I've read a ton of books, I've taken a lot of courses. Like, I've really worked very hard on trying to fill in the holes of any of my deficiencies. And I think it's allowed me to become the person I am today. I think it's almost like I was developed. I don't think I naturally was who I am, if that makes sense.
Well, and like another way of looking at this too is like think about people who are really successful who came from not having really anything, or they didn't have a lot of money, they didn't come from a rich family, like, and then even when they do achieve a huge level of success, they still have that same thing inside of them where they are still really hungry. It, you know, that self-made mentality is so strong when you've had to figure it out yourself versus being, you know, spoon fed or having every opportunity handed to you. And again, I think that directly applies here in this space. How many agents have come into the industry and they had enough money where they didn't have to make that sale, they didn't have to go out and knock on doors, they didn't have to sit there on a Saturday like we did, you know, and you still do, and work all Saturday to make sure that you're getting ahead, because there is no option for failure, right?
Not
If
all
if
Saturday anymore, probably a third, a quarter of it. But
yeah,
still, yeah.
the point being though is like if you have a safety net underneath you and you know that if you're not successful, nothing changes. It's such a different mentality than when you're on the streets and you know, I've got to put this all together. You know, there is no option for failure.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think it's a great point. And I do believe too, right? Like somebody that's actively studying, taking in the right information, reading books, you know, they're learning in a way, they're growing more intelligent as time goes on. You know,
Yes.
they're growing their skill set. They're becoming more capable. And then I think also like being willing to put yourself out there when you do kind of suck and getting punched in the face and getting a lot of experience, right? Like experience makes you more, I think, more capable, more intelligent, you know, because you've been there, you've done it before. Um, you know, there's a lot of people in our industry that I would say like they're probably IQ wise pretty smart, but they say really dumb things because they've never sold.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it shows. You know, you could be magna cum laude level of intelligence, and if you've never sold, you don't know. You don't get it. You don't understand what it's like to sell or do a sales call or run an appointment or, you know, whatever it might be. And so, yeah, I think a lot of that is really relevant to this conversation.
I agree. Guys, I want to get into today's sponsor of episode 96. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to plug, we were talking yesterday, we're coming up on episode 100. We are just around the corner. And talking to Christian yesterday, I was like, we should do something. We should do something special, something different for episode 100. So episode 100, in theory, would be exactly a week from today, May 8th. And that's next Thursday, May 8th. What we'd like to do is do a 2-hour long episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast and have it be all Q&A focused.
As much as possible.
You know, as much as possible. You know, we'll probably get into some other stuff, but we want to invite you guys next Thursday. That's May 8th. Bring your questions, bring your concerns. You know, we had this really great question from a local agent in the Virginia area this week. This is just a quick example where they're having issues with some of their regional carriers. And we talked about some ideas and strategies on what to do. Bring your questions, bring your concerns next Thursday, May 8th. We're going to do a 2-hour long, 100 episode special of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. So stay tuned for that. Today's episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by Lead Heroes, the #1 senior insurance lead provider. If you are looking for more prospects right now in the off season, specifically turning 65, new to Medicare, we have a special going on that you do not want to miss. $25 fixed cost exclusive call verified leads that get delivered to you within 24 hours of us speaking to them. It is an incredible opportunity, whether you are a face-to-face agent or you're selling over the phone or you have a call center or you're an established agent, whatever your situation is, these turning 65 leads are 100% the best opportunity you can have right now. So do not wait. I'll have the link in the comments below on this stream. Head over to leadheroes.com, leadheroes.com, and pick up your $25 turning 65 leads today.
Love it, love it, love it. Okay, let's get the gears shifted into main topic of today's episode.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, right hot off the presses, dropped early this morning from our friends over at Forbes. Maybe someday they'll be our friends. If I'm willing to cut a check, we can post one of my articles on there.
Wait a second. You're telling me they're not just giving all of these people an opportunity to write on their website?
That's right, little Billy. That's right.
That's what kills me. Is like, I think we know the situation, but all these people who act like, Forbes reached out to me and they wanted me to publish on their site because I'm so successful. It's like, or you paid them so you could publish your article on there.
They reached out to you. A salesperson reached out to you. Just like a car salesman wants you to buy a new car.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Want to talk to you. All right. Let's jump into this article that just came out from Forbes on CVS, Aetna, and the ACA Obamacare market. So I admittedly did not have time to go through this super in detail, but I did go through it a little bit. I was able to skim through it, and super, super interesting. So it's titled CVS Plans to Exit Obamacare in 2026, Impacting 1 Million Aetna Members. Wow. So written by Bruce Japson. Shout out to Bruce. Came out today at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the article starts off by saying CVS Health plans to exit the individual health insurance business, also known as Obamacare, next year, leaving about 1 million Aetna members in 17 states looking for new coverage in 2026. The decision disclosed Thursday on a day when CVS reported nearly $1.8 billion in net income amid a financial turnaround comes as a relatively new management team works to get rising healthcare costs in its Aetna brand health insurance plans under control. Quote, the company decided to exit the individual exchange business where Aetna independently operates ACA plans for 2026. CVS said in a statement Thursday accompanying its first quarter earnings report regarding coverage its Aetna health insurance unit sells under the Affordable Care Act known as Obamacare. This decision is consistent with others taken this year to focus the company's portfolio, CVS said. The company is best able to serve members through its other health benefit solutions, which offer access to quality care, affordable health benefits, and exceptional service. The company will continue delivering superior service and support to its individual exchange members through 2025 and residual activities in 2026. So first reactions, Mr. Glenn Shelton.
This kind of reminds me of the Cigna situation, it seems like from a P&L standpoint, maybe at the top, they're looking at it like, hey, this is what's working best. This is what's not working. And they're trying to cut the fat. That was kind of my gut reaction as I'm listening and reading with you here. What's your initial reaction to this news?
Yeah, I think it's, clearly anytime a carrier decides to just cut bait and pull out of a market entirely, I think you're right. I think there's some similarities to the Cigna situation, but it's a little different. Like instead of selling off their business and getting some kind of return on their business, they're just pulling the plug and canceling everybody, which means it is not going well in such a degree that they're just like, we just want to be done. We don't want this business at all. We don't want anything back for it. We just want to pull the plug and get the noose around our neck off.
This episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by the Seven Figure University. SevenFigureUniversity.com is a culmination of Christian Brindle's and mine's educational videos that we have developed over the past 2 decades of combined experience in the senior insurance space. There's more than 250 videos, hundreds of hours of content that can help you become a top producer or a top producing agency in the senior insurance space. We're talking about videos of how to work with specific carriers, how to do different types of marketing, such as seminars or Facebook advertising, how to generate content in the niche to help grow your business, how to grow an agency, all sorts of things. There's so much value in this. It's unbelievable. Christian, what do agents need to know about Seven Figure University?
Seven Figure University can best be thought of as an agency blueprint in a box that's put together for you, that brings you step by step in every facet of building a successful 7-figure insurance agency, and lays it out all in front of you so you can follow along. Whether you guys need help with marketing, whether you guys need help with branding, whether you guys need help with hiring, training, standard operating procedures, systems and processes, automation, you name it, it's covered in this course. Not only that, you get access to my weekly training calls every Thursday that go from January through the end of September on a week-to-week basis. And you can attend those live and ask questions live. And then, of course, the recordings are put into the university afterward if you can't attend it and make the live training. So there's just so much value. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and it's a great investment into your business to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on, but also kind of point you in the right direction in various things that you're struggling with.
Some of the best training you'll be able to find, you guys, in one spot for one price. Go to SevenFigureUniversity.com and learn more.
Let's get back to the show. Oh, give me a break. Trump has never been a fan of Obamacare, which he tried and failed several times to repeal in his first term, and his administration has already made moves to cut spending on such health benefits, already slashing what the federal government spends on navigators that help people sign up for Obamacare coverage. So basically, subsidies getting cut from the government right now is probably a big contributor to this. Because let's face it, right? Like, ACA business is really, really heavily dependent on subsidies. You know, there are people that are paying for their premiums outright, but it's probably a small minority of people. And premiums without subsidies on ACA are freaking enormous. You and I both know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, we also talked about on the show, you know, the no-call ACA lead situation, right? And this agent mentality over the years of essentially just reporting $0 income for everybody they come across, which has only made this whole situation that much worse, right?
Thanks, kings and queens out there.
I thought you were going to say some names for a second. I was like, oh, here we go.
I'm behaving today. I'm behaving.
That's shocking.
All right. So article continues to say, meanwhile, it remains unclear whether subsidies Americans use to buy individual coverage will remain once Congress has passed its budget. So some things still up in the air. Enhanced tax credits to buy Obamacare that were signed into law by former President Joe Biden ran out at the end of this year, and it remains unclear whether a Congress led by Republicans will extend them. Such tax credits contributed to record Obamacare enrollment for this year of $24 million. So largely provided by subsidies from the government. You know, like, it's easier to get a plan, easier to qualify for a subsidy. I mean, there have been people over the past couple of years that are making 6-figure incomes that are getting subsidies on their plans, which I found kind of crazy.
Well, do you remember that story I told you about the manager at one of the call centers I work with, where this person, and this is not tax advice, this is, if anything, this is what not to do. This person had the belief that if they just never filed taxes, they would never be found by the system, which from my understanding, this has already come back to bite them.
That's a crazy theory.
It's an insane theory. Like,
off
dude,
the grid.
You got a social security number, so they know you're out there, right? Like,
you're not an illegal immigrant, bro. Broseph.
Oh my gosh. But so I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there who aren't paying taxes and they're getting subsidies, right? There's gotta be.
I have no doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's read a little bit more of this, and then we can kind of get into a little bit more reactions. CVS has about 1 million people in its Aetna brand individual health insurance plans spread across 17 states. Those Aetna health plan members will have to purchase new coverage on the ACA's exchange this fall when insurers unveil their benefits for 2026. So if for those of you that haven't figured this out yet, this is happening. This is not like speculation. This is done. CVS
is there anything from CVS directly about this?
Yeah, we've read quotes already. We can go back to them.
But has CVS published anything directly?
Here you go.
Company decided to exit. Yeah,
Quote.
CVS said in a statement Thursday morning. Yep, there it is. I was trying to play devil's advocate and say maybe some of this is a little more speculative, but yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like they're pulling out. It's done.
This article is being written reacting to their public announcement of their decision
this morning.
This isn't speculation.
Yeah.
This is happening. So for those of you that are in the ACA market, this affects us for sure. Any Aetna business you have, you're going to have to rewrite. Period, point blank, come open enrollment. CVS moved to extend, let's see. Yeah, we kind of already went through all this already.
It seems like the reasoning behind the move is what's being speculated on more. But it's definitely, yeah.
One more thing I wanted to, I want to just go over this next few parts here because I think this is relevant. CVS Aetna Health Insurance Unit is not a big player in Obamacare. Like some of its rivals, and individual coverage is a fraction of the total medical membership CVS reported as of March 31st, 2025 of 27.1 million, which the company said remained relatively consistent compared with December 31st, 2024, reflecting membership declines in the individual exchange and Medicare product lines. So basically, it's not a big part of their business compared to their Medicare business, their group health business, stuff like that, which I have seen as well. I've seen in some markets they've been kind of competitive, but like overall, I don't think they've been lighting the world on fire in the ACA market the last few years. CVS and rival operators of health insurance plans, particularly Medicare Advantage benefits for seniors, have been hit hard in the last year with higher costs, Inflation Reduction Act. Let's see. I will end this in just a second. There's just a couple more spots I want to hit.
No, keep going. Let's keep everyone informed, okay? That's what we're doing here.
Medicare Advantage plans contract with federal government. Okay, we know that. But CVS said it is getting a better handle of cost trends. In its first quarter, the company's medical benefit ratio, which is the percentage of premium revenue that goes toward medical costs, decreased in the first quarter to 87.3% from 90.4% in the prior year. The company attributed the better performance in part due to improved underlying performance in Medicare, including the impact of improved Medicare Advantage star ratings for 2025 payment year. So essentially, what they're saying is
Medicare's making so much green. Why even mess around in the ACA market? Right.
We want to focus on what's working, and we want to cut distractions. That's what I'm getting out of this. CVS, which also operates the nation's largest retail drugstore chain, one of the nation's largest pharmacy benefit manager companies known as Caremark, said total revenues rose from 7% to $94.6 billion dollars in the first quarter compared to $88.4 billion in a year ago period. First quarter net income was up to $1.77 billion or $1.41 per share compared to $1.11 billion or 88 cents a share a quarter ago or a year ago in the first quarter. So yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty straightforward. They were not making the same type of profitability on ACA that they were on the Medicare market.
Yeah.
They weren't competing in a big way in the ACA market, and it was probably pulling more resources and attention than anything that they want to allocate towards the Medicare market. It makes total sense. And, with kind of this uncertainty about where the direction was going to be going for the future of ACA and funding of it and everything like that. It'll be interesting to kind of see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think I talk often about the pendulum, right? Swinging back and forth in terms of market trends, regulation.
I'm going to get you a grandfather clock for your office since you talk about the pendulum so much.
I need the pendulum right in front of me every day. But I think right now, the ACA market, from a regulation perspective, from a product viability perspective, it's swinging the other way. We're just exiting a time where the pendulum was in swinging in a way to where it was probably super easy to grow the book. Anybody could get a subsidy, making $150,000 a year. Subsidy. You need help. You need help.
Well, and then the COVID, they altered the rules with COVID too. So even if you were making pretty good money, they were still offering subsidies. It was crazy, increasing the federal poverty level. It was like 400% or something crazy for a little while there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
insane.
It's one of those things where and I said this, I mean, we grew a lot with ACA during that time internally, right? We started writing more as an internal agency of it. We grew our own book with it. We contracted a lot of agents for it. So we grew a lot with it in our own right. But I always said during this time, I'm like, this won't last. This no-call stuff, this, getting away with these fudging of subsidies, which we did not ever do, by the way, for those of you that might.
I was waiting for the disclaimer.
We never did. And just all the wild, wild west, anything goes kind of nature of it. I'm like, this is the same organization that regulates Medicare Advantage plans. Right. I'm like, there's no freaking way this is going to last forever. And it hasn't. The rules have come down in a big way. Things have changed dramatically. It's way harder to do an enrollment now. It's way harder to get away with fudging on things now. And the crazy subsidies that were allowable are not going to probably be allowable long term. So, there was a point in time early on in the birth of ACA where not many carriers wanted to be in it. I think a lot, if you look at CVS, Aetna, they have not been back in it very long. They pulled out early on. They came back, 4 years ago, 5 years ago at the most, maybe. They have not been back in this market very long. And so you wonder if this is going to be a sign of things to come.
I think so. I think there's writing on the wall here that, and if you're in both spaces, I just think, and I wanted to give you a did you ever watch the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill?
No, but I've always wanted to. I need to.
You totally should. You really need to. It's an incredible movie. It's based on a true story. If you haven't seen it like Christian, I'll give you a quick little overview. Essentially, it's the Oakland A's. They're trying to build a championship caliber baseball team with a budget that is one of the smallest in the entire MLB. So how do you do that, right? How do you compete with the Yankees, who are going to outspend you 10x? Well, they did it through statistical, data-driven decision-making. where they're looking at every position on the baseball team and they're going through every player that's available within their budget, and they're trying to figure out, based on their stats, what's going to work, what fits in where. And they ultimately end up doing it. And it's all, again, it was all data-driven decision making. And it's an incredible story. And ironically enough, my son's baseball team got a new head coach this year, and he seems to be doing a lot of these data-driven decision making, and the team's performing significantly better. That's what happens when you make decisions that are based on data. And that's what we're reading about in this Forbes article. It's honest. It can really be that easy to be successful in this business, you guys. If you are looking at the results and this is working, this isn't working, let's do more of what's working. I mean, honestly, we could get into like all of the nitty gritty and the specifics on what that article said. But like, to me, that was like the ultimate takeaway here is like, Medicare is doing so well that it rose our entire bottom line
by itself.
Regardless of everything else we're doing, our entire business grew and our bottom line grew because Medicare was so successful, Medicare Advantage specifically. And yet, we're still in this ACA space. Why? Right. And just like you said, I bet the resources that are being pulled into it are probably disgustingly big in comparison, right? It's like, if you could channel all of your resources back into Medicare Advantage and grow that even more, why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, it's good business, smart business decisions for sure.
So I think the question then becomes, what does this mean for agents? What should agents be thinking about? What should they know? What should they be doing come open enrollment? And I mean, my quick answer to those questions, and I'd love to hear your thoughts too, is if you have a big Aetna ACA book, prepare to do the work of rewriting them. It's a little harder to do from an automation perspective, but you make those plans now. If you don't, 1 million people are having their plans terminated across 17 states. If you're in one of those 17 states, it might be a good time to get aggressive with your marketing during open enrollment for ACA. It could be an opportunity for a lot of you guys. What I feel like everything that we talk about,
this is another mindset thing.
It leads down to the road of what an opportunity.
Yes.
It very well could be an opportunity, right? Like we have Aetna ACA plans in our home state. I'm thinking as we're talking about this, I'm like, maybe we get more aggressive on ACA marketing this come open enrollment, right? Because these people are going to have to change. They're going to have to change. They're not going to have any choice, right? It also, like any new ACA business you're able to obtain, it's harder to lose it. The days of an agent going in and just flipping a member and changing the NPN on the app with the client not even knowing, those days are pretty much over.
Yes.
So like I could argue going forward, any ACA business you're able to obtain the right way is going to be stickier than it's probably ever been in the history of ACA. So it's more valuable. The policy is more valuable.
Let me ask you something. Do you feel like the pendulum of ACA is almost like a year behind Medicare in some ways?
Yeah, you maybe 1 to 2 years, maybe even more, maybe as much as 3. But yeah, I think it's I think it definitely is. It's weird. I'm sure there is a department in CMS that handles Medicare Advantage, and there's a department that handles ACA. So it's almost like the left hand and the right. I have no doubt about that.
And I'm sure they share notes, right? And they're probably like, this is what's working. Because again, sometimes you'll see similar ideas floated maybe between the two, like with some of these proposals. But I have a theory. I have a, this is conjecture. This is just a projection. But I have a theory that the next couple open enrollments, potentially on the ACA side could be a lot more volatile. And we might start to see Medicare start to level out more. We might see less volatility over the next few years for Medicare. We might start to see more volatility on the ACA side. Obviously, it's really early on, and this is speculation. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
You
can't tell you.
speculator, you.
I can't tell you what the future is, but regardless, though, no matter whether it's volatile or not, but like it's an opportunity both ways in my head, right? If you want to know a mindset that I'm thinking, if it's not volatile, great. Retention's going to be easier, and I can focus more energy on acquiring new clients. If it is volatile, great. I can take these clients that have to be rewritten, that are in the market space that I'm currently marketing in, and it should be even easier to capture more new clients. I will have to figure out the retention piece of it, but there's really no mindset here, regardless of the volatility, where I'm not thinking that it's a huge win. And I see you're thinking the same way too.
Yeah. I mean, some of the most explosive periods of growing the agency's book over the years internally has come from plans leaving markets. Because again, the people have to change. They don't have a choice. And if you can get to them first, you have a great opportunity. I've told this story many times, but we had a big national carrier pull a bunch of plans out of some rural counties around here in Utah in the first, maybe my second year. It was my second year in the business. And it was a situation where in that county, it was a $0 premium plan. It was the only plan also in the county, the only plan. And the same carrier pulled the plan. So the plug gets pulled, everyone's terminated. And then they put a new plan in place that's like $30 a month. But people didn't get it automatically. They had to re-enroll. And I found out that even if they had another agent, if they get enrolled in the new plan, it's a new sale. The old agent's out.
Yep.
And I did a bunch of lead orders in that area. At this point, I was still doing face-to-face and kitchen table, paper apps, all those things. But, I very early in the cycle went up there, got a hotel for like a week, couple of days to a week. And I was running like 11 to 15 appointments a day. I was just slinging. I was just, boom, 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 boom. And I think that year for that carrier, I was like number 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly in the whole state of enrollments for them after that AEP, and but it was so easy.
The opportunity.
It was so easy because the people had to make a change. I told the story around that time where there was an agent that called my office and screamed at me about it. He's like, this is my client. I got there first,
Yeah.
I remember my client, and cursing me out in front of the client, everything like that. And I was like, well, I'm like, if you're really a competent agent, you can figure out how to fix this. All you had to do was have the client pull the app, wait a few days, put the app in. And he never did. That client was on the books with me until last year when the client passed away. Agent's out of the business now. I checked his license every couple of years. He's gone.
Stalking competitor agents. Guys, as we get towards the top of the hour here, we'll kind of start to get into some final thoughts. So, final thoughts again. I think this is such a great example of what opportunity can look like. Christian just shared a great story there, talking about how he was able to capitalize on a market withdrawal like this. And I think, again, there's the Chicken Little mindset, and then there's the 7-figure agent mindset. Chicken Little might look at this and say like, oh man, a major carrier is pulling out. I have 20% of my ACA business with them. This sucks. I should sell my book and go do something else with my life. And I see those agents all the time. That's a very real thing. They're in my DMs. They're in Christian's DMs. They're trying to get out of the business. They're done. And I think a lot of it is just the mindset. And then there's, again, the 7-figure agent mindset. You're looking at everything as an opportunity, and you're carving out the upside and all of it, because there is always upside. It's just like the stock market. If I think the stock market's going to have a down week, I can short the stocks and I can still make money, right? Or if I think the stocks are going up, I can buy some call options and I'm going to make a ton of money. Like, I look at the market in the Medicare space and the ACA space, it's really the same way. It's all upside to me. So great episode. Freebie Fridays tomorrow. Do not miss this Freebie Friday. We're doing Turning 65 leads from Lead Heroes. We're giving them away for free. All you have to do is comment on one of the streams from this week. This is our 4th stream of the week. So if you're not in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group, you're listening on an audio platform, get in the group, comment on one of the streams, enters you into Freebie Friday. We're giving away a bunch of Turning 65 leads for free from Lead Heroes tomorrow. If you can't wait and you need to get your hands on some of these Turning 65 leads now, head over to leadheroes.com. We've got them almost 50% off for just $25 per lead. We're also going to be doing a 2-hour special 7 Figures or Bust podcast a week from today, next Thursday, May 8th. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your concerns, bring your tacos, bring all of it. I was thinking about this. What's crazy is it took Christian and I almost 2 years to get to 100 episodes of Taco Tuesday. And we have been speed running this year to 100. We're not even halfway through the year and we're already going to hit 100 episodes, which I think is incredible. So I'm excited for that. Mr. Brindle, final thoughts.
Yes. To add something on, if you maybe for whatever reason are not able to watch that live, maybe you episode 100, that special 2-hour edition, and you do want to ask questions, we'll have topics to go through if questions are slow, but we will spend as much time as possible. Number one priority is going through your questions. So if you listen on an audio platform or on YouTube or whatever the case might be, and you want to have a question answered and catch the replay, if you can't watch live, send us those questions, right? You can personally send me a message on any social media platform and we'll make sure that we have those questions lined up. I'm sure you can do the same thing with Glenn. Let us know.
We'll do a post in the group too. So if you want to ask your question in advance, by all means, please do. Any way you can get it to us, we'd love to talk about it, and you can catch the replay and see what we said.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
My final thoughts about this news. Woke up this morning to it. I got up, started my normal breakfast and my black coffee routine. I was exercising in my gym at home, getting the reps in. And I was at the same time kind of like skimming through this story because it was brand new information to me. And the first thing I thought of, again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I want to reiterate opportunity for a lot of people that see it as such. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's a lot of things to look at in the ACA market and be like, oh, I don't love that. You know what I mean? I get it. But if someone's having their plan terminated, it's a great opportunity for you to, really clean up if you're really prepared for it. You got your marketing in check. You got your lead flow in check. You have a plan for how you're going to handle existing clients versus new clients. We did a 2-part episode about prepping for AEP. I don't think there's that much differences for ACA, maybe a little bit, but so I think, luck favors the prepared. And, I'd be thinking about how you can capitalize on this now. That would be my final thoughts.
Totally agree.
Guys, appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Episode 96. Again, next week, I think a week from today, if I'm remembering correctly.
Someone asked what time. The plan is our normal time plus a bonus hour.
Yes.
That's correct, right? Okay.
Yes. So 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, going 2 hours to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Nice.
And so, if you guys are going to have time, if you're out in the field, if you're working, turn it on the background, right?
Yeah, a little lunch break special.
You guys all like to pretend you don't listen to things while you work. I know you do. I know better. Turn off the propaganda, the news.
That's right.
Turn it off. Listen to this propaganda.
That's right.
About growing your business. I'm pushing dangerous propaganda to make you more successful. Push the propaganda. Appreciate you guys watching all the way to the end. If you're watching on YouTube, please do us a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, comment on this video. We appreciate your support. We're almost to 100 subscribers. We'd appreciate you helping us get there on that YouTube channel for the show. Make sure to give us a 5-star review on platforms like Apple Podcasts, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and other audio platforms such as Spotify, wherever you might be listening. And we'll be back with another episode soon of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast. Appreciate you guys. Here's to your massive success. We'll see you on the next one.
Happy selling.